A look at Durham's latest crime numbers, the final word on the city's stormwater private drainage assistance program, and a new face among familiar ones on the Durham City Council. We invite you to join us as we take you inside City Hall this week. Hello, I'm Amy Blaylock. Welcome to City Hall this week, dedicated to keeping you informed about what's going on inside Durham City Hall. There's mixed news stemming from the Durham Police Department's third quarter crime report. The encouraging part is that the numbers show a 1% decrease in overall Part 1 violent and property crimes during the first 9 months of 2011 compared to the same period last year. The area causing the most concern, though, for police officials, city leaders, and residents alike is violent crime. Part 1 violent crime includes homicide, rape, robbery, and aggravated assault.
Violent crime was up 3% during the first 9 months of 2011 compared to 2010.
Part 1 property crime includes burglary, larceny, and motor vehicle theft.
Property crime dropped 2% in the first 9 months. Motor vehicle thefts and larcenies were at a 3-year low during this time.
While many programs contributed to the department's successes, there are several specifically highlighted in the report.
The police department implemented the RAP, Residential Awareness Program, in September in an effort to reduce the number of burglaries. Studies have shown that when a burglary occurs to a residence, that residence and others within one block are significantly more likely to be burglarized within the next 2 weeks. Every week, the police department's crime analysis unit examines reports to determine locations and neighborhoods where burglaries are likely to occur in the near future. Crime prevention officers speak with residents to provide them with crime prevention tips and to urge them to call 911 to report suspicious activity. Officers also conduct high visibility patrols in targeted areas. A code red telephone alert will also be sent to residents in the affected area. This week, the first week that this program was in effect, officers were able to arrest several persons suspected of multiple break-ins. The fourth year of Bullseye's program was completed by early August. The results were significant. Violent crime in the Bullseye's target area dropped more than 51% over the 4-year period. This success has been the result of a partnership among the police department, the community, city agencies, and other groups. Durham has had another successful National Night Out program on August 2nd with more than 100 neighborhoods participating in 87 locations. Last week we learned that Durham finished 8th for 2011 in the category for cities our size.
Not a small achievement, considering there were 140 entries in that category. We have an update now on the city's Stormwater Private Drainage Assistance Program. After carefully reviewing the implications of expanding the program, city staff recommended leaving the program as it is, and the City Council agreed with that recommendation. The review was prompted after the city received a number of requests for assistance with drainage problems located on private property after heavy rains in May and July. Through the current assistance program, the city helps with maintenance or repair of drainage systems that are outside city-owned rights-of-way, only in emergencies where the private systems are causing flooding of the right-of-way.
The city currently contributes 80% of funding, up to $20,000, for drainage projects on single-family residential properties, and 70% of funding, up to $35,000, for all other properties, commercial and otherwise.
The city currently spends approximately $1.7 million per year for largely reactive maintenance when problems occur on city-owned property. The cost for proactive maintenance is about $3.4 million and is required by the city's National Pollution Discharge Elimination Permit. Given the strain on the city to meet its current stormwater obligations, the City Council agreed to keep the current program as it is, with the possibility of expanding its interpretation.
The current private property assistance program may be expanded to include drainage conditions that concern loss of access to or the immediate threat of loss of access to an inhabited or occupied building.
If there are questions about whether a drainage system is located on a particular property, owners or anyone thinking about buying a property can go to the city's online mapping program that shows the system as it is known. The city and Orange County are working together to build and operate a new water and sewer facility in the Eno Economic Development District of Orange County. The City Council approved an interlocal agreement that allows Orange County to finance and the City of Durham to construct and operate the facility. Water and sewer utilities will be extended into the approximately 900-acre district. It's located near the intersection of I-85 and U.S. Highway 70 in Orange County's Eastern Economic Development area. All costs to extend the system are Orange County's responsibility. A new policy creating an operating reserve requirement for the amount of money that has to be in the Water and Sewer Fund is now in place, as well as new specifications for the level of fund balance in the city's general fund. The City Council adopted a resolution that requires a reserve of 50% of annual operating and maintenance expenses be established for the Water and Sewer Fund. Such a policy is consistent with best practices and is something that rating agencies look for when evaluating the financial condition of utility funds. The new policy also changes how the city's general fund balance is categorized and maintains the requirement that reserve levels do not drop below 12% of adjusted spending. The City Council will be allowed to direct actions that would result in an amount below 12% as long as the fund balance is restored to the minimum level in a reasonable amount of time. Durham City Council now features many familiar faces as well as one new one. An installation ceremony was held before the December 5th council meeting for the recently elected members. Bill Bell will serve a 6th consecutive term as mayor, and incumbents Diane Katati and Eugene Brown, as well as council newcomer Steve Schewel, will fill the 3 at-large seats. The other 3 members of Durham City Council come from the city's 3 specific electoral wards, which have now had their boundaries changed. The changes need to be made because of the population growth identified in the 2010 census. The boundaries for the wards are supposed to contain approximately equal populations, which they now do with around 76,000 people in each area. The next election that will be affected by the ward changes will be held in 2013. Efforts to design better bus service in Durham are well underway. During its November 22nd work session, the City Council received an update on how a comprehensive operational analysis of the Durham Area Transit Authority, or DATA system, is progressing. The result of the analysis will be a 3-year plan for data services aimed at improving the passenger experience for current riders and attracting new ones. The first step toward that goal involved an onboard customer satisfaction survey of more than 2,000 riders of the data service and of the Bull City Connector service. The survey helped to show who is using the service and how it is being used.
We've got a lot of economic activity associated with the bus system, a lot of employment, a lot of student activity associated with using the data services.
The survey also showed that data is a very intensely used service. 60% of the respondents say they use it 5 days a week or more.
These folks are really using the service that you're providing, them. And keep in mind, they're using it to get to work, using it to get to school, and so forth.
43% of those surveyed rated Data's overall services as excellent or near excellent. And when riders for both Data and the Bull City Connector were asked what they see as the most important area of improvement, both sets had similar answers.
Buses running on time. On-time performance is by far the strongest element there.
Transit officials will now take the survey results and incorporate them with public input that will be gathered through January. A draft plan for improving data services will be developed by March. The goals that will help to drive the development of the plan include safety, achieving better than 90% on-time performance, fiscal responsibility, and community benefits. The final plan will be developed by June. Celebrating millions of dollars worth of renovations will raise the curtain on 3 of Durham's most high-profile improvement projects when City Hall this week continues.
Without gun violence, people are whole. Without gun violence, families are intact. Without gun violence, communities are solid. Without gun violence, futures are secure.
Together, we can reverse the effects of gun violence in our community.
Join Project Safe Neighborhoods campaign in the fight against gun crime.
A message from the City of Durham Police Department.
Welcome back. The City of Durham has a new public art policy.
The definition of public art varies from place to place, but the two things that are consistent in it is the aspect of art in public places. It's placing art and artist-designed functional elements in the public landscape, in right-of-ways, on sidewalks, plazas, lawns, and in other places that are available to the public plazas and similar locations. The second important aspect of public art is that it involves a public process, with the community invited to participate with the artist in the creation of the work. Ultimately, the decisions on the specific design of the work will rest with the artist, but the artist encourages input from the community and gets people's ideas. Also, the city getting people's ideas as to the locations to be looked at for public art.
In an attempt to achieve more of the goals outlined in the Durham Cultural Master Plan, the city wants to make incorporating public art throughout Durham a priority. That's why the City Council adopted the new policy during its November 21st meeting.
There are four basic components to the policy. The first is it creates a citizen advisory committee, a public art committee under the Cultural Advisory Board with a broad representation of backgrounds to advise the city on all public art projects. The second is an administrative structure for how the city will administer public art projects and how it will guarantee that there will be citizen input into those projects. The third element is a Percent for Art program to provide funding for public art. And the fourth element is to create voluntary incentives for private developers and private businesses to include public art in their projects.
In general, Percent for Art programs set aside some percentage of a city's capital improvement budget to be used specifically for public art projects.
The idea is to create an annual requirement for the city manager to recommend up to 1% of the capital improvements budget to be set aside in a public art fund that could be used for projects either at the site of construction that's happening under that budget or at other locations around the city suggested by the public or through some process of determining where they should go. There would be a priority given to the downtown area and to the economic development neighborhoods and to public gateways, but any part of the city would be eligible, and part of the process will be to invite neighborhood associations and community groups to give us suggestions of what should be done and where.
A program that would stress the importance of public art to the Durham community as a whole.
Public art accomplishes a number of things. I mean, there have been a number of studies that have shown that public art actually generates economic development, that it increases tourism, it encourages people to extend the length of visits to the city, and to spend, as a result, to spend more money. They're more likely to shop, perhaps stop and get something to eat if they're staying longer at a given location in the city. And especially people who come to town specifically to see the art are more likely to be staying in hotels and eating in restaurants and doing other things that not only generate revenue for businesses, but also through the taxes collected, generate revenues back to the city. That's one important value. Another value is basically civic pride. It enhances the appearance of the city. It gives the city in general and specific neighborhoods a sense of place and a sense of belonging and a sense of pride, and that's an important component of it as well.
Funding for the Percent for Art program would begin in 2013. If you haven't already visited the newly renovated Carolina Theater, Durham Arts Council, and the Durham Convention Center, you'll want to make a point to do so. A renovation celebration was held on November 17th, marking the official debut of these historic arts venues.
And let me say I'm very proud that Durham is continuing to recognize how the arts have and continue to play a vital role in our lives every day, as evidenced by the renovation of three historic buildings in the life of our great city.
The renovations were the result of nearly $13 million in public investments to upgrade the three publicly owned facilities.
These renovations were more than just a facelift for these three buildings. The Durham's Arts Council, the Carolina Theater, and the Durham Convention Center. The renovations included significant upgrades that will enhance your comfort and our comfort while using or attending performances or events at these buildings.
During the ceremony, Mayor Bell acknowledged that the arts are a strong economic driver for Durham, contributing about 6,600 jobs and millions of dollars to the local economy.
Altogether, the renovation of these important buildings adds to the attractiveness of Durham, and they will have a very powerful economic impact on our city for years to come.
Another city-owned arts venue that is continuing to make its presence known is the Durham Performing Arts Center, or the DPAC, as it is most commonly known. A celebration was held on November 30th to mark the third anniversary of the opening of the facility. During its third year of operation, the DPAC earned $1 million for the city. The American Tobacco Trail project is back on track. Find out how and when it's now expected to be finished when City Hall this week continues.
Getting closer to nature can get you closer to your family. Go to discovertheforest.org.
Welcome back. The City of Durham is now in the golf course business. In order to ensure that the Hillendale Golf Course remains open as a public course, the City Council accepted ownership during its November 21st meeting.
Up until this point, the Hillendale Golf Course has been owned by the Durham Foundation, and SunTrust Bank and its predecessors as trustee have managed the golf course on behalf of the foundation.
In recent years, the golf course became too expensive for SunTrust to operate, so the bank approached the city about taking over ownership.
Well, SunTrust Bank, the trustee for the Durham Foundation, the owner of the golf course, decided after several years of having to provide operating subsidies to the golf course that it no longer wanted to operate the golf course and began to seek a partner to donate the asset to.
After the city had all aspects of the course operations reviewed, it determined that the operation of the course is viable without being subsidized if certain changes are made.
And the city decided to bring on a consultant to help determine the condition, the financial condition, the physical condition of the course in the event that we decided to take over the course and own the course. Through that consulting arrangement with the industry expert, it was determined that the course could be profitable if management agreements were renegotiated and investment into improving the course occurred.
Changes that are expected to make ownership of the course worth the effort for the city.
The city is very interested in all citizens having easy access to recreation. Certainly golf is a recreational activity that many people have become accustomed to just because the Hillendale Golf Course has been in the community. The originator of the trust that set up the golf course wanted the golf course to remain a public golf course, to have all citizens be able to have access to golf in Durham. So it's important to the city that that access remain. It's important to the city that access to golf for nonprofits that utilize golf tournaments as fundraisers, that there are opportunities for those organizations to continue to be able to access golf in Durham for those purposes. As it relates to property owners in the Hillendale Watts Hospital neighborhood, the golf course has become a permanent asset to those neighbors.
Under the current management agreement associated with the course, there will be no financial impact of owning the course to the city for at least 5 years. The Durham Walks pedestrian plan now includes a sidewalk construction priority list that will guide the city as funds become available.
The Durham Walks pedestrian plan was adopted in 2006, and it's a plan for making Durham a better place to walk. It includes recommendations for locations for new sidewalks, as well as other policies and programs to encourage and make walking easier and safer in Durham.
Because of recent changes, the plan is now using a revised ranking methodology, which in turn prompted the update of how the sidewalk corridors are ranked and the order in which they will be addressed.
Well, we made several changes to the ranking methodology. One was we gave a little bit higher priority to sidewalks that are near existing schools and parks. We also incorporated more information about the transit system into the rankings. Specifically, if there are sidewalks that are near bus stops, those ranked higher, and they ranked higher also if there were, depending on the number of passengers that are using that particular bus stop. And so those are the major changes that were made to the ranking methodology.
Those changes served as the basis for the development of a sidewalk construction priority list, which has now been adopted by the City Council.
What we did with the sidewalk construction priority list, we looked at the highest ranked projects on in the rankings, and it turned out to be the highest 52 projects, because those were all the projects that scored higher than 9, just in the way the rankings were set up. And we went through those projects and looked at the ones that did not have any funding, or the sidewalks were not going to be built as part of another project, such as a road widening project. And so we selected 24 of those 52 projects to put on the sidewalk construction priority list. And that list will be used in the future as funding becomes available to determine which sidewalks will be built.
Sidewalk construction projects will be selected from the list as funds and staff resources are available. The list will be updated, reviewed, and adopted by the City Council every 3 to 5 years. Construction of the final phase of the American Tobacco Trail in Durham is ready to move forward.
The final phase of the American Tobacco Project is going to be the segment that starts from the existing end near the intersection of 54 and Fayetteville Road and will continue about 4.2 miles south across I-40 all the way to the Chatham County line. There they will pick up the existing tobacco trail and continue further down to Wake County. They'll ultimately end up in a 20-mile segment, completing that segment of the American Tobacco Trail. This will be part of the East Coast Greenway, which is a larger greenway system stretching from Florida to Maine.
The project was put on hold because the actual cost of building the trail is significantly higher than what was originally anticipated, and the funding that was available. Now, a new funding source has been identified and the project can continue.
The new source of funding for the American Tobacco Trail is actually coming from several sources. We have the Durham local funds, we have state funds, and we have federal funds. We're all coming up to roughly between $11 million for this part of the trail. That will include the bridge going across I-40.
With the project's funding in place, a new schedule for completing the trail has been set.
Completion of the trail is anticipated to be brought in 2 segments. The first segment will be the trail portion from Renaissance Parkway south to the Chatham County line. That should be open by December of 2012. The remaining portion, which is the bridge, which is more complicated, should be open by April of 2013.
Northeast Central Durham's Humphrey Street is boasting a new and improved image these days. An open space beautification event was held on November 30th to enhance the open green space around the R. Kelly Bryant Jr. pedestrian bridge. The open space is located directly across the street from the bridge. The city's Neighborhood Improvement Services Department and the Northeast Central Durham Livability Initiative launched the project to help inspire neighbors to keep the area looking its best. The city is offering you more help in cleaning out after your Christmas clutter. Find out how the next e-waste recycling day can help get your year started off right when City Hall This Week continues.
When I need you, I just close my eyes and I'm with you, and all that I so wanna give you, it's only a
You don't have to be a hero to be a hero. When you adopt a child from foster care, just being there makes all the difference.
Traction control, front and rear crumple zones, anti-lock braking system. For all the modern safety features an automobile has, a motorcycle has none of them. In North Carolina, there were 3,500 motorcycle crashes last year, killing 151 riders. Remember, in order for your helmet to do its job, you need to do yours first. Make sure it's a compliant helmet. For more information regarding training in your area, visit bikesafenc.com.
What we do to the planet, we do to ourselves. You can help keep America beautiful. Visit KAB.org.
Most of us spend up to 6 hours a day in front of the computer or TV, usually with snacks. Trade tube time for active time. Physical activity keeps you and him in shape and feeling good. So move more each day. Your body will thank you.
Welcome back. The city is doing its part to make sure that the vehicles it puts on the road are as environmentally friendly as possible. In fact, for the third consecutive year, Durham has received international distinction for its Green Fleet program. The Fleet Management Department was recognized for being 37th in North America for having the best Green Fleet program by Green Fleet Magazine, Green Fleet Conference and Expo organizers, and the 100 Best Fleets in North America. The award is given based on several key evaluation categories, including fuel and emissions, policy and planning, fleet utilization, education, executive and employee involvement, and supporting programs. The City of Durham is the only city in North Carolina to place on this year's Top 40 Green Fleet Awards list. The city's effort to replace 2 of its older diesel engine garbage trucks with more environmentally friendly models is getting a boost, thanks to a grant from the North Carolina Department of Environment and Natural Resources. The $80,000 Diesel Emissions Reduction Project grant will go toward the purchase of 2 new solid waste vehicles, a significant step toward offsetting recent funding reductions while the city is aggressively trying to replace outdated fleet vehicles. If you're wondering how to dispose of old electronics to make room for the new ones you may be getting for Christmas, we have the answer you're looking for. The first e-waste recycling event of the year will be held on Saturday, January 14th from 8 a.m. until 2 p.m. at Northgate Mall. Christmas trees will also be accepted. For more information about recycling in Durham, visit the Solid Waste Management Department webpage on the city's website. And finally, the city is receiving even more national recognition, this time for its use of technology to connect with residents. The Public Technology Institute named Durham a citizen-engaged community, along with 9 other cities throughout the country. The program recognizes excellence in using technology to keep residents informed about and to allow them to interact with city government. Winston-Salem was the only other North Carolina city that received this designation. That does it for this edition of City Hall This Week. Be sure to like DTV8 on Facebook and follow us on Twitter to find out how you can tune into this show, City Life, and all the city's programming. You can also find us on demand on the city's website at durhamnc.gov/DTV8. On behalf of all of us here at DTV8, we wish you a happy holiday season, and we look forward to seeing you in early January with our next new episode of City Hall This Week. I'm Amy Blaylock. Thank you for joining us.